All right, let's just jump right in. So picture this. A firebrand congresswoman, you know who I'm talking about, she resigns after this huge, very public feud with the president. A special election gets called in one of the most conservative districts in the entire country. And what happens? Something absolutely no one saw coming. This is the story of the wild, completely unpredictable race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And that brings us to the central mystery we are unpacking here. I mean, it sounds completely impossible, right? A Democrat actually outpolling a dozen Republicans in Marjorie Taylor Greene's own backyard. So how on earth did this actually happen?
Okay, now let's look at the actual numbers from that first round of voting on March 10th, because this is where it just gets wild. Take a look at that top line. Shawn Harris, a Democrat, finished in first place with over 37% of the vote. And right behind him, with nearly 35%, is the Republican Clayton Fuller. I mean, this result was an absolute shockwave, and it means these two are now headed for a final one-on-one runoff. So let's really break this down. How did a Democrat pull off this stunning first-place finish? To get it, you gotta understand the district, the crazy drama that kicked this all off, and, well, the really peculiar election rules that were at play.
First off, you need some serious context here. Georgia's 14th district, it isn't just red, it's deep, deep crimson. In the 2024 presidential election, Donald Trump won this district by a staggering 37 points. That's exactly what makes a Democrat finishing in first place so mind-boggling. This is the place where a Republican win is usually just a foregone conclusion. So how did we even get to this point? Well, this entire race was kicked off by a very public, and I mean very dramatic, political divorce right inside the MAGA movement. This wasn't some quiet retirement, it was a total political explosion. And it all happened so fast. In November of 2025, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was one of Trump's most loyal allies, publicly split with him over handling the Epstein files. The fallout was just immediate. Trump announced he was going to back a primary challenger against her. And then within weeks, on January 5th, boom, Greene resigned. The very next day, the special election was on the calendar. And in her resignation video, Greene really made it clear just how personal this split was. You know, she framed it as a move to spare her district what she called a hurtful and hateful primary, orchestrated by the very same president she had fought so hard for. The drama was just completely off the charts. So, with Greene out of the picture, the floodgates just burst open. But to really get what happened next, you have to understand Georgia's special election rules. They seem like they're designed for pure chaos. Okay, so here's the crucial point. This wasn't a normal primary. It's what's known as a jungle primary. And what that means is everybody, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent, they all get thrown onto one single ballot, a total free-for-all. If nobody breaks that 50% mark, the top two vote-getters, no matter what party they're from, move on to a runoff. And that is the key to this whole puzzle. With a wide open seat in a super safe district, pretty much everyone wanted a piece of the action. The final ballot was just enormous. It had a grand total of 17 different candidates on it. Can you imagine being a voter trying to sort through that list? And here's where the math becomes absolutely critical. As you can see, the Republican vote was fractured, just shattered across 12 different candidates. Meanwhile, the Democratic vote, it was way more consolidated, split among only 3 people. So while all the Republicans were busy carving up that big 68% pie into tiny little slivers, the Democrat, Shawn Harris, was able to unite his base and pretty much cruise to a first-place finish. Now let's dig into the Republican side of this whole equation. With so many people trying to claim that MAGA mantle, one question was just looming over everything. How much does a Trump endorsement actually matter when the base has other options to choose from?
Trump definitely did not stay on the sidelines. He threw his full weight behind one guy, District Attorney Clayton Fuller. He even held a rally for him, called him a MAGA warrior, and gave him his, quote, complete and total endorsement. And yeah, that support was absolutely powerful enough to lift Fuller out of that crowded Republican mess and into the second runoff spot. But that endorsement wasn't some kind of magic wand. Fuller had a really serious challenge from another conservative, State Senator Colton Moore. See, Moore had his own deep MAGA credentials. He was out there calling himself Georgia's most conservative senator, a guy who fought the 2020 election results. So for a lot of voters, it was a real choice between the officially endorsed guy and a proven local fighter. And this quote from a voter, a guy named Les Dunaway, it really gets to the heart of the matter. Even though he was a huge Trump supporter, he chose Moore. And why? Because Moore had a track record that for him mattered more than the official endorsement. This just goes to show you that even in the heart of Trump country, that presidential seal of approval isn't always the only thing that voters are looking for. Okay, so all of that chaos, the resignation, the jungle primary, the totally divided vote, it has all led us right here to a final head-to-head runoff election on April 7th. So let's meet the finalists. In the Democratic corner, you've got Shawn Harris. He's a retired Army brigadier general and a cattleman. And this actually isn't his first rodeo. He ran against Greene back in 2024. And then in the Republican corner, Clayton Fuller, the district attorney and Air Force vet, carrying President Trump's official banner. So you've got the military man versus the prosecutor.
But here's the final fascinating twist. Just look at this fundraising difference. As of the last report, Shawn Harris had raised a staggering $4.3 million, really cashing in on all that national attention. Clayton Fuller, he was under $800,000. That is a massive, massive financial advantage for the Democrat heading into the final stretch.
And that just leaves us with the ultimate question for this runoff. We know this district is overwhelmingly Republican, but now the Republican vote is all going to one guy, while the Democrat has a huge cash advantage. So what wins? Does money talk loud enough to flip one of the reddest seats in the country, or does that deep-rooted party loyalty always win out in the end? I guess we're all going to find out on April 7th.